In the deepest, darkest parts of the earth, hidden from our sight, there exists an extraordinary world. A world so strange that if its inhabitants were dropped onto the surface, they would be utterly lost. Welcome to the world below, where we will explore the strangest creatures that call caves home. Caves are one of the most extreme environments on Earth. No light, no plants, and no oxygen. It's hard to imagine how any life form could survive in such conditions. Yet there are many species that have made it their home. But how do they survive? How do they hunt for food, find mates, and avoid predators? And what evolutionary advantages do they have over the animals that live in the sunlit world above? Some of the animals that live in the deepest caves are blind. This might seem like a disadvantage, but it actually gives them an advantage in their environment. You see, when you don't need to see, you don't need eyes. And so over time, the genes that control eye development are switched off. This is exactly what happened to the Mexican tetra. This small fish has no eyes, but it has very good hearing. It can detect the movement of its prey and also communicate with its mates using echolocation. To understand how this works, let's take a closer look at the inner ear of this fish. This structure is called the swim bladder. It's a gas-filled sac that helps the fish control its buoyancy, but it can also sense changes in pressure. When the fish makes a clicking sound, the pressure waves from the clicks travel through the water and back up into the swim bladder. There they are picked up by a group of hair cells, which then send signals to the brain. The brain can then work out where the sound came from and whether or not it was prey. But there are even stranger creatures living in the depths of the earth. The speleophile is a type of beetle that lives in caves in the southern United States. It has no eyes, wings, or legs and is completely white. It's so weird that when it was first discovered in 1925, it was thought to be an alien. Now that's not surprising when you see it next to a normal beetle. It looks like something from another planet. So how did this creature evolve? Well, it is believed that the spelophile's ancestors were ordinary beetles that flew into the cave to lay their eggs. Over time, the eggs hatched into flightless white beetles that lived off of the cave's fungi. They didn't need eyes or color in this dark environment, so they lost those traits. And instead, they developed long, thin legs and antennae that helped them to crawl around in the dirt. But there are other creatures that use their sense of touch to get around. The gene is a type of arthropod that lives in the caves of southern France. It looks a bit like a cross between a spider and a beetle. It has no eyes, but it has a pair of long antennae that it uses to feel its way around. These antennae are so sensitive that the gene can detect the vibrations of a single hair. It can also use these antennae to sense changes in air currents, which helps it to find its way to new food sources. But the most amazing thing about the gene is that it can navigate through mazes. In experiments conducted by French scientists, the arthropods were placed at one end of a maze with a food source at the other. At first, they seemed to wander around randomly, but after a while, they began to head in the right direction. They would eventually reach the food source if they hadn't died of hunger or exhaustion first. It seems that the gene have an innate ability to navigate through mazes, but it's not clear how they do it. Some researchers believe that they may have a magnetic sense, which would allow them to sense the Earth's magnetic field and navigate accordingly. Others believe that they may use visual cues even though they have no eyes. But even without eyes, some creatures can see. Take, for example, the nilgai. This is a species of antelope that lives in India. It has large, dark eyes that are adapted to seeing in the dark. They can't see colors, but they can see shapes and movement even in low-light conditions. They also have a reflective layer in their eyes called the tapetum lucidum, which helps to gather more light and improve their vision in the dark. These antelopes live in open grasslands where predators can easily spot them, so it's important that they can see as much as possible. But it's not just their eyes that help them to see in the dark. They also have very acute hearing and smell, so if a predator gets too close, they can hear it coming and run away, or they can stand their ground and defend themselves with their sharp hooves. And now, it's time to meet an animal that can see in the dark thanks to its transparent skin. The glass lizard is a type of amphibian that lives in the mountains of Eastern Asia. It has no eyelids or eyeballs, but its skin is so transparent that you can see all of its internal organs. But why did it evolve this way? Well, the answer lies in its brain. The glass lizard has a very simple brain compared to other amphibians. It lacks the cerebral cortex, which is the part of the brain responsible for higher-order thinking. This means that the glass lizard is not very intelligent. It can't solve problems or learn from its mistakes. It basically does the same thing over and over again, and that's why it needs its transparent skin. See, the glass lizard is a nocturnal hunter. It hunts for insects by snatching them out of the air. But it needs to be quick. If it misses, then its prey will fly away. And if it doesn't catch enough prey, then it won't have enough to eat. So its transparent skin helps it to camouflage itself against the dark background of night. Its predators can see its outlines, but they can't make out any details. And this gives the glass lizard a chance to ambush its prey. But there are other animals that use their brains to find food in the dark. Take, for example, the ghost crab. This crab lives in the intertidal zone of the world's oceans. It's active at night and it hunts for mollusks and worms. To do this, it uses its powerful claws to dig burrows in the sand. Then it waits for high tide and uses its antennae to sense the movement of its prey. When it feels something moving, it snaps its claws shut and eats its meal. But sometimes the ghost crab has to wait a long time for food to pass by, so it needs to be patient, and this requires a certain amount of intelligence. In experiments conducted by German scientists, ghost crabs were presented with two chambers, one containing food and the other empty. At first, they would go straight to the food, but as the experiment went on, they began to spend more and more time in the empty chamber. Eventually, they were spending equal amounts of time in both chambers. This shows that the ghost crab is capable of learning and remembering. And finally, we come to the most intelligent creature that lives in the depths of the earth, the human. Humans are the only species that can survive in caves without any special adaptations. We can use tools, build shelter, and find food even in the most extreme environments. But why are we so smart? Well, it's because our brains are 3 times larger than any other primate. This gives us the ability to think abstractly, use language, and plan for the future. It's these abilities that have allowed us to conquer the world. But it's also these abilities that make it so difficult for us to understand the creatures that live in the depths of the earth. For example, we can't imagine how a creature like the speleophile could ever survive in the outside world. Yet somehow, it manages to thrive in one of the most extreme environments on Earth. So what lessons can we learn from these strange creatures? Well, first of all, we can learn that there are many things that we don't understand about the natural world. There are still so many places that we have unexplored and so many creatures that we have undiscovered yet. Who knows what other strange and wonderful animals are hiding in the depths of the earth? Secondly, we can learn that even the most extreme environments can support life. If these creatures can survive, then so can we. Thirdly, we can learn that we should never give up, no matter how difficult things may seem. These creatures have overcome so many obstacles to survive. If they can do it, then so can we. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, please leave a comment and subscribe. And if you want to learn more about the creatures that live in the depths of the earth, then check out the resources.